We have all been there, right? That really frustrating, fuzzy-headed feeling that can just derail your entire day. And it's so much more than just being tired or distracted. It's this, mental cloudiness that just hangs around. So in this explainer, we're going to break down what brain fog really is, and more importantly, what the science actually says about how to fix it.
I mean, you know the feeling. You're right in the middle of a sentence and poof, you lose your train of thought. Or you're trying so hard to focus, but your mind just will not lock on. It's exactly like your brain is buffering, like your thoughts are stuck on that perpetual loading wheel.
The Cleveland Clinic just nails it with this analogy. It's not that the information is gone from your brain. It's that you just can't seem to access it. The connection is slow, it's unreliable, and it leaves you feeling stuck and, honestly, pretty frustrated. Okay, so let's move beyond just the feeling and take a look at what's actually happening inside our brains. Because while we call it brain fog, science, of course, has a much more precise term for this whole collection of symptoms.
And that clinical term is cognitive dysfunction. Now, think of that as a big umbrella term for real, measurable deficits in your mental performance. And we're talking about things like your attention span, your memory, and even how quickly you can process information. This isn't just in your head, it's a real thing.
So what does this cognitive dysfunction actually feel like in your day-to-day life? Well, the Cleveland Clinic points to these common symptoms. That moment you just can't find the right word, or that constant feeling of mental exhaustion, or just not being able to follow a conversation? Yeah, sound a little too familiar? So if that's what brain fog is, the million-dollar question is, where does it come from? Why does our thinking get so darn cloudy? Well, as it turns out, the answer is kind of complicated. Just take a look at this list of potential triggers. Notice the variety here. It can be something as common as stress or not getting enough sleep, but it can also be a symptom of hormonal changes, mental health conditions, or even the aftermath of an infection like COVID-19. And that is exactly why this whole thing is so hard to pin down. Okay, with that many potential culprits, it's easy to just feel overwhelmed. But what if we could isolate just one of those factors and see its direct, quantifiable impact on the brain? Well, thanks to some pretty powerful research, we can do exactly that. So, let's do it. Let's take a deep dive into the sleep effect. We're going to move from that broad, kind of fuzzy list of causes to some really hard data on what happens to our brains when we just don't get enough rest. And our key source here is a massive 2025 meta-analysis. Now, a meta-analysis is basically a study of studies. It's a big deal because it pools data from dozens of previous studies. In this case, we're talking about 39 different studies involving over 4,500 young adults. So what did it find? It all comes down to this single number, negative 0.62. This represents the overall effect that sleep deprivation has on our executive functions, our higher order thinking skills. To put it simply, think of it like a letter grade. An effect this large is like your brain's performance dropping from an A all the way down to a C-. It's a clear, stark number that shows a lack of sleep significantly impairs your brain. Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting. The study breaks down that impact, and it turns out sleep loss doesn't affect all our brain functions equally. As you can see on this chart, our cognitive flexibility takes a hit, and so does our inhibitory control, which is our ability to regulate impulses. But the biggest blow, by far, is to our working memory, with a massive effect size of negative 0.71. So why does that matter so much? Well, because your working memory is absolutely critical for almost everything you do. It's what you are using literally right now to follow what I'm saying. It's what you use to do mental math, remember a shopping list, or piece together a complex idea. A significant hit to your working memory is a direct hit to your ability to function effectively, period. So, we've defined the problem, we've seen the hard data on just how much a lack of sleep can hurt our brains. So now for the most important question, right? What can we actually do to fight back and clear the fog? Thankfully, the steps are very practical. The Cleveland Clinic recommends starting with the basics, and no surprise here, step 1 is improving your sleep. But it doesn't stop there. Eating well, getting regular exercise, taking strategic breaks, these all help combat that mental burnout. And notice that last tip, writing things down. That's a direct way to support your working memory, which we now know takes the biggest hit from sleep loss. So, here's the crucial point. Brain fog might feel like this vague, immovable cloud, but the tools to manage it are often very concrete. These are actionable steps focused on the fundamental parts of our health, sleep, nutrition, exercise, and they are largely within our control. let me just end with this thought. Maybe brain fog isn't just a symptom that we need to eliminate. Maybe it's a signal. It's kind of like your body's check engine light, telling you that something fundamental needs your attention. So the real question isn't just how to get rid of it, but what is your brain fog trying to tell you?